Hey everybody, Tim Sackett. You guys know me. I get involved with all this kind of TA tech stuff, recruiting tech, HR tech. One of the things that I'm really excited about is I get to introduce a lot of startup founders, cool stuff that I get to see. And today I get to introduce Perfect Hire and the founder Matt. Matt, are you co-founder, founder? Give us your a little bit of your story.
Yeah. So I mean, all intents and purposes, I guess you could call me the founder, but I like to call it a co-founder. Like there's a lot of us that came together to really make this what it is. We have a very unique story of our founding leaders. Essentially, we came up with one idea, and then we merged with another company who had another idea, and then we all merged together and had one giant great idea. So, we're all kind of co-founders in this spot. But a very fun, unique area, especially within the HR tech and recruiting space as well too. So yeah, you can call me
So
whatever you want, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Just don't call me late for dinner. That's what my grandma
yes,
would say, right?
yeah, yeah,
um, so when I first got introduced to you through mutual friends in the industry, and someone's like, "Oh, it's a new ATS," and my first reaction is like, "Oh, another ATS." But then they're like, "No, like you guys branded this really well because you said we're an ATS plus." So
right.
tell me like how that formed, what that means, because I think people we know in our space, you and I both know we've been around for this, long enough that you know almost everybody doesn't like their ATS because it's a traditional ATS. So
Yep.
tell me what's an ATS plus?
Yeah, so think about your ATSs, right? Every one that we get out there is just a rip and replace with something new with a little new added feature. And that's exactly
Yeah.
what we were tired about, right? So my longevity background is actually in sales and enablement. So a lot of sales tools, all the cool tech stuff that every company gets. And I quickly noticed that there was a lot of recruiters that weren't getting that same, love at the same point. And there is a really, really strong correlation that recruiting is sales and sales is recruiting and how you're kind of
Yeah.
navigating those pipelines together. And so what we did is we actually took the framework of an ATS and we literally just broke it down. Like we just took
Yeah.
everything apart. Think about a Lego, right? Like we took the set and we just demolished it and built something completely brand new. But the big key component of this is kind of twofold. One, we interviewed over 300 different TA leaders of what their problem is, why they hate their ATS, and then what can we do to make things better? Like their life
Yeah.
sucks. How do we make that better?
Yeah.
So that was the first and foremost thing. The second part of it was this AI boom is crazy. And of course, everybody says that they have AI and whatever, yada, yada. But how are they utilizing AI? Most of the AI fundamentals that I've seen in any tech these days is not on back end type of process enhancement or automation. It's really more so along the lines of slap a chat bot in there with enhanced search features and optimize that way. So you have
Yeah.
to know the prompt, you have to know where you want to look, you have to know what your desired outcome is going to be. We don't want that. We want AI to be your assistant to basically help inform your decisions, not have you search for your decisions. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of where this ATS plus mindset came from is it's completely rebuilt from the ground up with a mindset of like Salesforce or all the other sales cool tech that's out there and kind of lump it together into the proficient function of recruiting with AI in the background, basically to help assist you and move you forward and faster, more efficiently.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've been for like probably the better part of a decade, I've been telling like, and we've people that are on the inside of like the HR tech industry, it's always kind of like sales and marketing tech is about 10 years or 5 years ahead of us, depending on kind of where you're at in your stack and what you
Yeah.
do. And so like we continue to see like products being brought into the industry like you did with Perfect Hire that have this kind of modern sales, kind of technology, marketing technology kind of feel to it. You talked about sales enablement. And then over the last 2 years, we've really been hearing a lot about recruiter enablement.
Yeah.
Connect those dots for us of like, what is sales enablement, big picture? And then how does that kind of lean into what you guys built that allows for really good recruiter enablement?
Yeah, so sales enablement or revenue enablement, whatever which one you want
Yeah.
to call it, is really like the optimization and training and proficiencies in order for you to drive revenue faster and more effective.
Yep.
Whether that's through tech stack, whether it's through coaching, questions, product, whatever it might be, like that gives you the ability to actually go out to the market and bring in what you need to hit your quotas and goals.
Well, and I like to like frame this too as like, I'm like, I think one of my superpowers is being very practical in my language. And
Yeah,
when I think about a salesperson, think about a salesperson 20 years ago. They're at their desk, they're calling, they're looking things up, they're doing everything to try to close a sale, to try to make a sale.
right.
And at the end of the day, you go, they're spending 75% of their day doing administration kind of work,
Absolutely.
looking things up. They're not actually talking to the client, right? They're not actually dealing with the real thing that closes the sale. So sales enablement is how do we eliminate a lot of that stuff off their plate so they can
Yep.
actually get to the meat of what that sale would be, right?
Right. Yeah. And so, you talk to a lot of sellers, you'd ask them what the biggest thing they hate about their job, and they would always say their CRM. Right. And so
Yeah.
that admin shit just wasn't there. So,
Yeah.
so that was a lot of our ways. Like, how do we implement, all of these different training methods or optimizations or automations to really enhance this workflow and to progress things forward? So, shifting that over to the recruiter enablement side, right? I already correlated revenue or recruiting is sales, sales is recruiting. You're managing the pipeline, you're sourcing, you're doing all of that stuff. You're having multi-threaded conversations across different areas there. But the one thing on recruiting enablement that I would really hyper focus on is treating it as a full cycle motion. And I think what a lot of recruiters are doing these days is they're parsing out and segmenting themselves that, oh, I'm only in this stage and I can't move past this stage until everything is closed. Same with this
Yeah.
one, same with this one. And
Yep.
what we've seen there, right, is you're stuck inside your ATS, basically trying to drown and fluff things up to make it look like you're doing something. Your hiring managers are left blind because they have no idea where you're at in the process, or pissed because you haven't made any progress on their role. And lastly, you're not having tangible conversations to keep candidates, engaged enough before they fall out of the funnel.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of this, you go back to sales, right? They have all these different methodologies of, Challenger, Sandler, all of that other fun stuff. And so part of the recruiter enablement side of this is how do we actually break that down into an entire thesis as well too? And, I've even taken it a little step further and call this little like, pillow thought methodology here, but like I actually brought my own into this as well too to kind of implement this. And for every one of our clients, they actually get to go through this entire merit methodology platform. And it's really kind of easy that it's mindset shifts, engagement and outreach, relationship management, identify those needs, and then basically you're just going out there on timing. And so how do you really navigate all 5 of those steps to really keep all of your pipeline healthy, moving, and then driving in the right direction as well?
So Matt, you bring up a good point around the people that are going to be most successful using Perfect Hire. And it's one of the things I had asked you originally too. And something I love to ask kind of people who are creating new tech in our space is, who is this for? Because the biggest mistake is, oh, it's for everybody. And you're like, well, it might not be for everybody.
Yeah.
Who is Perfect Hire for? What's that perfect customer that's going to like just kill it when they're using Perfect Hire?
I mean, yeah, like ultimately it is really those that really care. How do we drive success?
By the way, really care about results.
That's
right?
true.
Because
Yes, right.
I think we all care
Yes.
in recruiting, right?
Correct. Yes. So yes, really ultimately care about getting the results and really optimizing your own, workforce and your own, TA process. We are hyper focused in our, ICP within like frontline shift based working, obviously, SMB mid market areas. But honestly, like we're a very agnostic tool, but it's really designed for those that really want to streamline, make things more efficient, have a process that actually works for them, and a tool that doesn't have guardrails, that doesn't allow you to optimize for each and every single role, right?
Well, and so many of us now are being asked to do way more with less kind of resources, right? So you have to be like, hey, if I'm going to have less people on my team or less resources, I better have the right technology that's doing the things again to make this more efficient, better outcomes, all of that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Perfect Hire does. Is we are actually automating every single step and admin tasks that we kind of talked about earlier. We're automating those admin tasks by sending out those booking, the scheduling links for every single one of your interviews for you. That's just your next step. Like as soon as the hiring manager says, "Yep," like boom, you're already getting scheduled for that next candidate. we design all of your interview questions for you. So based off of what topics you're wanting to do at each single round, your interview questions are all ready to go. So that way your people that are doing your interviews, they're not stuck in the shower this morning thinking, oh shoot, I got to interview Tim today. What questions am I going to
Yeah.
ask him?
Or worse, like I have 3 interviews in a row and I'm asking 3 of the same job candidates 3 separate different kinds of questions
Exactly. Yeah.
because one of them looks like me, one doesn't, one's a female, I'm a male, like, and like you start asking all these different biased filled
Yes.
questions,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
So we've got all of that. And then ultimately I think what the biggest thing is we allow you to really customize every single one of your roles, which a lot of these other ATSs are not. Like you have to fit within their schedule or their mold of where that's at. And so
Yeah.
we allow you to actually customize every single one of your roles. And for a
And,
hiring manager,
and again, you go back to that traditional ATS. It's one of the things that was broken is forcing, whether it's a white collar job, a blue
right.
collar job, or whatever, down the same process. When you go, no, 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 like I might for an executive level role have I need like a really different process, right? And you see
Yeah.
so many companies that will like, well, we do all of our hiring in our ATS, but then we yank out our executive roles because it won't fit the process, or
Right.
we have our blue collar workers going through a 30-minute application process. And you're just like, what? Like I remember auditing John Deere and like it took 24 clicks for an hourly worker to apply to a job. And you're like,
That's
what are you
insane.
doing?
Yeah. And I would say, like, to our point earlier, right? Recruiters are being asked to do more with less. Now that with Perfect Hire, every hiring manager is actually going to have that in-depth look of every single person on their team to see where they are struggling, how are they struggling, and we actually make recommendations of how to actually ease that workload up week by week for you. So as a hiring manager, you are now proactive in your approach without having your burnout of your recruiters or having the loss of trust with the rest of the company as well too to fill that role.
So Matt, you guys really have kind of 3 segments of Perfect Hire. Talk about the 3 kind of I don't necessarily call them modules because they all kind of work together.
Yeah.
But like talk about the 3 aspects of Perfect Hire.
Yeah, so Perfect Hire right now we currently have is our ATS Plus that we've talked about, and that is our full ATS enhanced with AI and everything else like that. We're currently working on 2 other modules right now. One of them being Forecast, which is going to be a way to connect into your CRM and your productivity apps to basically help say, hey, this is how you need to pull this lever to optimize your own workflow. So it's measuring up against your OKRs. It's helping you see where every person's at in the company to help you when you hit that revenue target. It unlocks X amount of new roles that are open. And it helps you just in general, instead of that stupid spreadsheet that we all dread at the end of the year, right? It lets you do all of the planning for your next headcount all in one module right there.
It was one of the things that blew me away when I first saw it, because I think we've spent so much time in TA, especially at mid-enterprise, with our just hair on fire. And then all of a sudden it's a Thursday and the executive walks into your door and says, oh my gosh, we just got approval, or we just won a contract and we're going to have to increase hiring by 30%. And you're just like, and there's no widgets for us to actually use to kind of forecast, like, hey, here's the resources I'm going to need, and here's the time we're going to need. And we just kind of look at them and go, okay, yay, we're going to make it. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're going to fail, and you're going to get fired.
Yeah. I mean, and that was the biggest thing, right? Everybody got scared because there's no transparency into forecasting. And literally, when you really look at those spreadsheets, I can even recall the one time that somebody accidentally lost that spreadsheet. And we're like, that was like 90 hours worth of work. Where did they go? And so, now we have it all into one platform that's auto-saved. The nice thing is again, we talked about this earlier, is with AI really optimizing this. We have what we're calling as our Conduit AI module that really connects all of our stuff together. So it's always communicating to understand what we need and how we're doing it.
Yeah.
And that third module that we'll go into is the Retain module. So connecting into, your performance review. So Lattice or 15.5, right? We're working on all of those integrations right now. And then we also have a scheduling module for those frontline teams to help optimize and drive productivity, as well as shift-based coverage and shift-based preference by the frontline workers.
Yeah.
We're always seeing, we've seen, 60 to 80% of people leave their jobs in the shift-based work due to bad scheduling.
And so it's still more art than science for most companies.
Totally.
If you have multiple locations, whether you're retail or home health or whatever it might be, and you have like some manager trying to manage anywhere from 10, 15, 50 different people and schedules, it becomes like, it's almost like they were like, oh, well, the best leaders had like the art form of it versus
Right.
going, "Wait, this is really science. Like this is just math. We
It
can
is.
figure this out and make it way better for everybody, you know?"
Yeah. I mean, and if AI is good at one thing and one thing only, math is like really their strong suit as well too. So it's real easy just to push a button for that for you as well. So those are kind of like the three modules. And as I started that conduit section there, right? Like we're
Yeah.
taking all of the machine learning of your company and who your employees are that are rotating throughout this cycle here. And let's say, Tim, we hired you and you were the stellar employee as we were going through this. And we say, okay, we need to open up 4 more account executive roles. Here's all of Tim's traits. This is how Tim's performing. This is what we're doing. We are now re-pushing all of that information back into the ATS, creating a job description that matches what Tim's doing based off of the roles and stuff that he's doing and the traits that we're watching for. And then guess what? Now that's not part of those interview questions to help mimic and mock and bring somebody in like Tim to make your company that much stronger.
Yeah.
So we have this entire cycle that's from start to finish and just recycling it over to really optimize who these personalities in these companies are. Because I can't tell you how many times I actually had to do like candidate profiles and submitting those into HR and be like, this is the ideal person I would like to have. And that person is part of this person and part of that person. And here's this. And you can't really do anything based off of that other than ask certain questions. So now our machine learning is understanding who those people are to really drive up those questions.
One of the things that I think is the biggest strength of Perfect Hire, and when we first met, like, I don't even think you realized that how strong it was because it was just in the methodology of what you built because of sales enablement technology and how you build out Perfect Hire was, when I take a look at who's the perfect kind of customer for Perfect Hire, and
Yeah.
we said, oh, it's people who care. I think it's people who actually are comfortable with accountability and actually want to be
Yes.
successful based on accountability, because that's what sales enablement actually does too, is it measures really well and nobody can hide, right? And I take a look at the last 20 years I've been in this space with ATS technology and go, it's still the one biggest weakness is if I'm a TA leader, I have all this data and I might have dashboards, but it doesn't really tell me,
Right.
hey, who's actually individually performing really well? Like when I go into a meeting, and I have all these hiring managers, do I already know the 3 hiring managers who are going to yell at me
Nope.
because nothing's happening or the recruiter is failing on the job they have? And to me, when I took a look at that and you took a look at the ability to measure capacity of your team
Right.
against your workload, against your forecasting, and actually have a really dynamic business conversation with your leadership team, to me was like one of the biggest strengths. I'm like, why doesn't every ATS have this?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
this makes so much sense.
Yeah. And I'd say the other thing too is, we talked about what the hiring manager is going to do and come out and yell at you for. That's
Yeah.
the other part of it is I've looked at all these ATSs and hiring managers do not have any visibility or like messed up visibility into the roles that they're hiring
Well,
for.
part of it is that like, again, this kind of notion that we go, well, hiring managers don't want to be in there. They're not going to be in there all the
Yeah.
time. So let's figure out a way not to have them in there and just throw stuff at them,
Yeah. And so, and recreate basically a hiring manager dashboard that allows them to see exactly where their roles are at, how they're progressing, how many candidates are in each stage for you, understanding that entire process, who's doing well, who's doing not, how many have dropped out. Like we're giving you guys everything. And again, like we're not discouraging those meetings with a hiring manager,
Yeah.
but we also want you to come prepared and your hiring manager has every access in every moment to basically jump in there and ask questions or at least get an insight into it. Because 90% of hiring managers just get mad because they don't know. And so
Yeah.
if we actually identify, hey, this is what it is here, they'll be able to go ahead and engage and get that going as well.
So if somebody's interested, they want to come and do a demo, or they just want to come and have a conversation, what's the best way for them to find Perfect Hire and kind of set that up?
Yeah. So 2 different easy ways. One, connect with me on LinkedIn, Matt Schalze, super easy. Send me a DM. You'll get an instant calendar booking link right away. Be very happy. The other part of it is if you go to getperfecthire.com, that will take you guys to our website. And there is a book a demo page there. Jump on that, and my team will reach out right away to get something scheduled as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. Again, check them out. Check out Matt. Connect with him on LinkedIn. Go just demo. You guys know I love it when you just go demo, try things. Even if you already have an ATS and you're like, I still have a year left, you need to keep your eyes out of what's next, right? What's that next thing that's going to happen, especially when you start to budget for next year and the things of that sort. Go out, demo, check them out. It's one of the coolest products I've seen that's out there on the market right now. And like I said, if you actually want to be successful in recruiting and it's critical for your company, there's not another ATS right now that I've found that holds people accountable to the actual result that Perfect Hire has. So check them out.
I love it. Thanks so much, Tim. I appreciate this as well. And yeah, for those of you that are still in a year contract, we've got a good special for you guys as well too. So check it out.
Nice. All right.